Welcome to the Encouragement Engineering Podcast. We help people to combat the negativity that inundates our daily lives with a positive perspective and positive action. Today's guest is Tabatha Perry. Tabatha is the ultimate go-to for the non-9-to-5er who doesn't have the typical schedule and needs help getting their day life on track. With over 15 years of experience in the criminal justice system, 20 plus moves under her belt, a master's in social work, girl mom, wifey, and life coach, and I'm tired just reading this, she's got advice that will make any day less stressful for the person juggling many balls in the air. As a professional overthinker, she's learned how to simplify her day and loves helping people to create simple and small edits in their daily life so they thrive personally and professionally. So please welcome to the show, Tabatha Perry. Tabatha, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate your time today.
Absolutely, Bob.
Great. Well, it's interesting reading that bio. I mean, obviously, you've done a lot of things. If we can, let's tell the audience about you and how you got to where you are today.
Oh, yes. So about me. So I have a personal contract that I created for myself. So it is, I am a strong, courageous, bold, and consistent child of God. So that's kind of like me in a nutshell. But really, I was born and raised in Alaska, and but I'm not like outdoorsy at all.
How did that work?
Right. I love order. I love to plan, but I also enjoy being in the mess and just living life. And so those have all kind of brought me to this place in life where I get to work with people who don't have the typical schedule, because I, again, love to plan. And so I created like a life where I had a very predictable life. And then becoming a mom and moving and staying home, it all kind of changed and I had to adapt. And so I help other people adapt to it. And that is just totally a joy for me to be able to see people thrive in their life.
Well, and that's a great thing, especially in our society today where things are just going every which way and daily life is that way anyway. And you as a mom know, okay, you plan something and then boom, all bets are off. So, as a father of 3 boys, I fully understand that. So if you can, what is a non-9-to-5er and what makes them special, if you will? Explain that to us.
Yes. So it took me a while to kind of come up with even the verbiage of who it is that I wanted to help. And the non-9-to-5er is someone who doesn't feel like they have to go and like clock in and clock out. They don't necessarily go to an office even. It's the entrepreneur, it's the stay-at-home mom, it's the financial advisor, the business owner, where it's really hard to kind of turn your brain off. Right. And that is where the chaos can kind of be created, right? It's like there's all these things to do, and there's not just like a start and end time. It's just all the things. Yeah. And so that is kind of just my passion, is to help those people that I realized is that I'm a go-getter and I want to achieve things. And so helping those that want to achieve things and making it fit into their life, and it's going to look different for other people. And that's where I found too, is that just claiming your uniqueness and the life that you need to create versus the life your mom thinks you should have, or your sister or your cousin, and just really kind of owning your life and what you're called to do.
It's funny because when I speak to people, I often say that it's like, whose life is it anyway? Reality is it's your life. And yes, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to go down roads you don't necessarily want to be on, possibly because of somebody else saying, oh, you need to do this, but it's your life. And if you don't like that, you're going to have to shift. You're going to have to do what's good for you. And, I appreciate you helping people to find that and to build that, if you will, organization in their life to, okay, here's the steps we may need to do. Is that some of the things you can help them do, in that life path?
Yes. Yeah. So my biggest superpower is taking big, crazy, messy things and making them very small and tangible. And so I absolutely love hearing where people are in their life. And they're like, I've got this going on, all the balls that I'm juggling. Like, okay, what is one thing you want to work on? Okay, now let's break it down. If it were easy, what would it look like? And just really helping them see that it is their life. They have control over it, nobody is forcing them to do anything. If they wanted to go sit on the couch and do nothing all day, yes, there would be consequences, but they could. So many times we feel like, well, I have to do this. Well, you don't actually have to. We get to choose to. And it's so much more empowering when we view it as a choice versus a have to.
Right. That idea of we get to rather than, oh, I've got to. And that's a great way to, get your day going. And which leads me into the next thing. How do you start your day? How do you get it going? And how do you encapsulate your day to end it, if you will? What are the bookends that you do with your day?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Okay. I totally nerd out with routines. And so specifically for my morning routine is I get up at 5 o'clock every day. Now, maybe on a Sunday I'll sleep in, but I know that my body operates well when it's like predictable.
Right.
So I love to start off my day that I get to get up at 5 o'clock and have that time, because my girls usually wake up around 6.
Yeah.
The reason I chose 5 is because I wanted an hour before them. They're 5 and 7. And so they will find me. They will search me out and find me in my home. So I am in charge of my life. I'm an adult. And so I'm like, I want an hour. I'm going to create the hour. So I have my quiet time with the Lord. I pray, I read my Bible, a devotional, and then I journal and exercise. Exercise has been a huge thing for me. It used to be just like a want. And then I realized it was a need. It was my own like happy pills, just what makes me feel sane. So I do that in the morning. And then during the middle of the day, it can kind of be all over the place. As much as I try to plan, things do come up. And that is
children.
And hashtag children, right? Totally. And so then at night is just as important as my morning, and how I end my day is also how I can start the next morning. Right. And so making sure that I go to bed at a certain time is really important. So I usually try to stop watching a show no later than 8:30. And then when I go into my room, I go into the bathroom and I take my supplements, I do my thing, and then I go in bed and I read for a couple pages. That is, and once I'm in bed, my body knows it is time to shut down. Yeah. And another thing that I've been very intentional about is we don't have a television in our room. And
amen.
Yay, right? Totally.
Yes.
Totally. Your room should be for sleeping and other activities, but not for like watching TV. No. And then my phone, I keep in my bathroom. So when the alarm goes off, I can't roll over and turn it off. I have to go in. And if I've already made it into the bathroom, I'm like, the hard part has been done. Just stay up. Yeah. So those are kind of how I begin and end my day.
And that's great, because, it all starts with those types of things. It's like you said, you get up, you've already made that commitment to get going. I do the same thing. I'm a early morning person, 4:30 a.m. And it's, as soon as that alarm goes off, it's okay. Thank you, Lord, for letting me wake up. Please keep the kids safe and sound. That's my morning routine. And I go from there and do the exercise in the morning, because it oxygenates your blood, gets your brain flowing. You get better ideas. Like you said, if you journal in the morning after you've had that exercise, it's just flowing, and it's, it gets your day going better. So that's some great points for people. And, especially this time of year, you're going to see people, I'm going to do this, and that New Year's resolution. Okay, let's wait till February to see if it's still going. But, my son, he goes to the gym. He's very regimented with that. And so he got in there and he's like, there's all these people in the gym. I said, just give it till February. They'll be gone. Yeah. I
know. I wish there was something that we could do to make it so people would consistently go, but it is hard. Creating those new habits and routines. It's uncomfortable. And so many times we give it up because it's uncomfortable.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And I just put the thought, I'm not ready to give it up yet. I'm not going to be put in a box now. So I'm going to do it as long as I possibly can. So I definitely, I appreciate that. It definitely helps you, because like you said, it's more than something you get to do. You have to do it because it helps your mind, helps your body. You rebound. If you get a cold, you rebound much faster. You're more agile to be able to move around and do things. It's so many benefits from exercising that, it's definitely a big plus. I think people need to make sure they do in their life.
Absolutely. I found too that there's just like new connections that are made in my brain, right? Between my body and my mind. And I trained for a marathon. I did a marathon this past year, and there's a lot of running and a lot of a lot of running, and just a lot of time with myself, with my thoughts. I had so many amazing, inspirational ideas. And it wasn't until about halfway through I realized I had like the audio recording. Because before I was like, oh no, I know I'm going to forget this thought. But exercise is so important. And yeah, I have found that it has really opened my mind as well as my awareness of my body, because we can't be encouraging and, even really have positive days if our body is just always feeling icky. Right. And so putting that intention into our body, it's all combined. Like we were created beautifully. And so we need to be taking care of all of it.
Yeah, definitely. And I always think of that quote from Zig Ziglar, it's like people say motivation doesn't last, but neither does a bath. That's why we recommend it daily. We need it because there's just so much around us that gets the turmoil. Turn on that idiot box and it can go down real quick. So I limit myself to exposure on TV, and definitely don't have one in the bedroom either. So it's, you don't need that. You need to refresh your mind, refresh your body. So great ideas. On the opposite side of that, you mentioned about some of the things people might be doing to sabotage their success. What could those things be? Because obviously we like that, the morning routine, we like the supplements, the exercise, but what are some other things they may be doing that are the opposite effect?
Yeah. So it all starts in our mind, right? So our thoughts affect our feelings affect what we do. So a lot of times we sabotage ourselves by not even being aware of our belief systems. And this is something I am still working on. I'm not perfect at it, nor is anyone perfect at it. But I would say the first thing is to kind of do a thought audit of what are the things I'm really resistant to, and what are the things that I really need to work on? Is it a true thought, or is it just a thought I've had for so long it's become a belief? That has like sabotaged me in my ability of, well, I'm just a mom. I just need to focus my time on my kids. I can't, have my kids go play. I should be, with them all the time. Or I'm just a social worker. I couldn't be a life coach. There's just all these limiting beliefs that we can use to sabotage ourselves. As well as not, and kind of to the point of, taking care of your body, not re-energizing yourself. I kind of do this activity with myself of an energy drainer and gainer. Like in my day, I should have as many things that give me energy as drain my energy. And if we find that we're just exhausted and tired, that is sabotaging our ability. And so to make sure that we're adding in positivity and things that really just give us energy is so important to combat that sabotage.
It's interesting when you were saying that, because I caught the words you said, and I don't know I hope the listeners will listen to this. Some of the things you said that were limiting beliefs, you had I'm just, or I can't, or I should have, could have, would have, could have, should have. Don't do that to yourself. Those are all limiting words. And so you're starting that process out by, limiting words. And so we've got to think of that. We got to think like you said, what we're putting into our mind, it comes from our thoughts, our actions, our words.
Yes.
Great. Now it's interesting because you grew up in Alaska, as you said, and then you moved around. I mean, people think, oh man, somebody from Alaska, they got to be hardy. They got to be, ready to take on everything. You kind of do, but you're not. It's tell us a little bit about that background, if you would.
Sure. Well, I'm definitely, not the typical Alaskan, but the cool thing is that Alaskans are all unique. You're not going to find one that's the same. Like all the shows that show the people off in like the wilderness. Yep. We've got those. We also have us that like to wear, name brand things and, just enjoy the beauty. So, the hardiness also has come from my heart of just this desire to encourage others. And so while being in Alaska and not necessarily a typical Alaskan, I worked in the prison system. And so that has just been my joy to be able to encourage those that are lonely, which are prisoners, right? And the people that are forgotten. And so in Alaska, you kind of feel like you're the redheaded stepchild of the states. And so there's just this desire to include people because you can feel kind of lonely out there.
Right. And that's a good point. Yeah, because it is one of the, it's not contiguous states, but it is one of the United States. And that's important to help people realize, hey, we're part of this too, and a big part of it. So, and it's interesting because your background in criminal justice. I mean, I'm sure what drew me to that scenario was your non-9-to-5ers. With criminal justice, I'm sure you had plenty of midnight shifts. I know several that, were in that industry and have done midnight shifts, day shifts, et cetera. So you kind of get, that breadth. Do you think that helped you grow to see these benefits? I mean, obviously being in the prison system, you saw a lot of things to help people as well.
Yeah. So there was kind of a twofold. So my experience of having to work like the graveyard shift, which was miserable, but I had to prioritize what was important to me. So I had this job I had to do. Now at the time I was single, so I didn't have so many responsibilities, but I had to figure out like, is it worth, giving up going and hanging out with friends at a certain time? And, you just have to kind of weigh those things. And it's really interesting when people like firefighters and police officers and first responders, kind of talking with them to see how they create order in their life can be really challenging, but it's so important and it's totally doable. It's going to look different than other people. Right. So then I have the element of working with the actual prisoners where most of them had the non-9-to-5 job, drug dealers, many of them prostituted themselves. Like they were very creative. And can I just say that if anyone has a background in any of that, you are talented, right? Like they are business minded. They are like bold. They are strong. And there is just prisons filled with incredible work ethic, even. Right. Yeah. Ability to do anything for everything. And so helping them figure out what their strengths were and what they wanted was really important. And that's really how you create order, is owning who you are, because then there's just a natural flow and you can create that structure in your life.
And that's a great point, because I thought that was interesting reading some of your information that you worked in the prison systems and finding those key elements like you talked about. These are people that are entrepreneurs, whether you like what their business was or not.
Yep.
They were bold. They asked for the sale. They asked for what they needed. They went out and got what they needed or had to get. And you saw that value in them and you instilled that value. Did your faith help you to keep that focus on helping others and sharing that encouragement to them, that value, to show them that value?
Absolutely. I just even got like chills. Absolutely. Yes. Because I mean, even Jesus, he went and ate with the tax collectors. He hung out with the lepers. Like he hung out with the people that everyone was like, no, you shouldn't be rolling with them. Now there was a difference. Like he obviously had power and had a lot of good things coming into him. And so we need to be careful on who we're surrounding ourselves with to make sure that we are built up and strong, but we need to be loving on the people that society kind of turns their back on, no matter who that is. We need to love them, and we don't have to agree with their choices. There is a difference between agreeing with what people do and loving who God made them, like, and their purpose, because all of us have a purpose. No one on this planet is without purpose.
And that's, I'm getting excited here, because these are the things that just people got to remember, that they're built with such great value, and you remind people of that. And I love this quote you have on your website. It says, every great goal starts at a gateway. Every purpose needs a path, and every overachiever must strategize, organize, and optimize. You right there, you're saying everybody's got something. You just got to encapsulate that and make that positive choice and focus that energy towards a positive outcome. That's just brightness in our society. And I think that's a great thing you're doing with just that idea alone. Help to remind people that they have that strong value. Tell us how you do that, with just like some key things you might remind people of.
Yeah. So kind of like how I started out introducing myself with my own personal contract, I help people kind of figure out what their contract is. It may not be as formal or definitely not sound like mine, but we have to figure out who we are in order to know where we want to go.
Right.
We have to figure out the type of car we're going to get into before we can start the engine and take off to the destination. And so that is always where I start out, is really just allowing that person to be able to verbalize who they think they are, and then also compares their gap between who they are and who they want to be. And so that really helps with kind of the strategy, is then you figure out, okay, well, what are the needs, right? And then a lot of it too, we have so much stuff in our mind, and that's where I love organizing on the outside, but I like it on the inside too, right? Like organize all those thoughts of, I want this, I'm capable of this. Okay, and then let's prioritize. Is this now or is this later? And really just trying to simplify the process, because we don't have time for complexity. There's so many things out there that are complex and confusing. Like, we don't need to create that for ourselves.
No, it's funny because God gave us 10 commandments, only 10. There's not, it's not overcomplicated. We complicate it, but it was a strategy there. And it's interesting you say that, because how do you help people to do that? Because like you said, I'm sure they come to you and they're probably exasperated. They're worn out, maybe, depending on their situation. And do you have them write it down? Do you have them start journaling? I know I've helped people do that. It's basically write out what your best day will look like, and write it out, because then you're doing it. You're writing it out for action. You're hearing it in your thoughts. You're reading it as you write it. So you get that multiple layers of learning. Is that something you help people to do?
Yeah. So one of my favorite strategies that I do myself often is a brain dump, right? So I think of it as like my purse when, my kids have thrown all their like snacks and socks and like all these things, right? And I like dump it out. I just have all this random stuff in it. And so it's kind of like just dump out my brain, all my thoughts onto one page. And so a lot of my clients are perfectionists. And so there's a challenge with even doing that, because then they want to like correct their spelling and like, oh, should this be capitalized? And so I even work on it with them of like, just get it out. The messier, the better. There isn't one thing that should be in top. And so like, just strategy wise, making it super simple. Start with getting all your thoughts onto paper so you can see it. Like you were saying, like just it's this perspective shift when you see it written out versus in our head, we can overcomplicate it. And you can't think yourself out of overwhelm. You have to take action. So the best step is to get it all out, so that way you can take action on at least one thing.
Awesome. I love that. You can't get out of overwhelm. That's funny. You got to take action. Great. And that's really, that action is so critical, I think, because, like you said, I can understand that people coming to you and they want to be perfectionists. No, this capital. Then they get focused on the thesaurus. Then they're over here and they're off on tangent. It's that monkey brain, and we got to stop doing that. We got to, every once in a while, our day, no matter, like, as a parent, your day's going to go crazy sometimes. And sometimes you just got to go outside, take 5-10 minutes, go outside, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy, the outdoors, take a break. I'll do that, because phone calls will constantly come in. You can turn off the phone for a minute and just enjoy walking around the neighborhood, see the trees. In Florida, we've got green trees, and I grow palm trees. So I got palm trees around the pool, and, I get to see those every day that I'm at home, whatnot. And, even at that, if I have to go into the office or whatnot, you go outside, just feel the warmth. Sometimes it's to warm up my hands, literally, from the air conditioning, but, other times it's just go outside and see something different so you can get that refreshment into your body.
And that is so important. But what I found, Bob, is that it's really challenging for non-9-to-5ers sometimes to figure out what it is that brings them joy, or what they can do to actually decompress. And so that's another activity that we go through, is like create a joy list of like what things bring joy to yourself. And then I have them put it in their phone. So if they have a half hour of like nothingness, instead of getting on, social media and scrolling, they can pull up their joy list and be like, oh yeah, I really like going and getting a Frappuccino at Starbucks. Or, I haven't listened to comedy in a while. I'm going to put on like a comedy podcast.
Right.
just to remind themselves of what it is that they enjoy doing. Because again, with the non-9 to 5er, there's no shut off and start your brain. Like it is just always kind of going with all the things. And so being able to take that time to increase your energy by doing those things that bring you joy is so important.
Have you seen with the shift, if you will, in the economy and the employment situations with people remote working, do you see where you're helping more of those people, even though they're on the clock, they can, sometimes get distracted or segued into something else because they're at home? And have you seen that?
Oh my goodness. Yes. And this has been really interesting too for me and my husband. We've experienced this because he now works at home.
Okay.
So that's been fun.
Yeah.
We get to see
He's
a
a
lot
principal,
of each other.
right?
What's that?
He's a principal, right?
A principal? Oh, no.
No. Okay. All right.
No.
Okay.
He works in the financial field.
Okay.
And so, yes. And so one thing that we realized was that once we were done working, we actually needed to physically get our mindset shifted. Yeah. Right. And so I will go upstairs and I will change into like leisurely clothes, almost as like a physical transition of being like, okay, I'm not working now. I can turn my work brain off. Does this work all the time? No, it doesn't. But it's a strategy for many. And so, yes, being able to work with people the past couple of years where they're working from home, there are so many more distractions. I like to call them shiny squirrels. Yes. We talk about how they're external as well as internal. And the more that you can label them and then come up with your strategy for them, it's so much easier to deal with them. But if you just kind of let them, scurry around, you're going to constantly be distracted by them.
Organize the squirrels.
Yep, exactly. As much as one can.
Yeah. But it's interesting you say that, to physically go and, if you will, change your clothes. Think about it back to Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. What did he do? He came in with a suit, and then he changed to his sweater and the shoes, and that always made you comfortable, like you're home.
Yes.
And then, it was the opposite when it was time to go. That's been a concept that's been around a while. People may not have recognized it, but I think you brought up a great point. Maybe that's why they did that, because they wanted kids to come in and realize, okay, you can be comfortable here. Doesn't matter who you are, but you can be comfortable with me because he's putting on the sweater, putting on the leisure shoes. And that's a great point, because it will separate that time. That's where you have to say, all right, this is a time for me. This is time for the family. It's shut off time. And working from home with remote workers, a lot of times that bleeds over. Because, oh, well, there's this and this, and this system's up or down. And, can we get this done? And you got to have a shut off time. So
yes, absolutely. Another thing that I have found is like physically like leaving my office, like shutting the door, maybe even turning off the computer. So it's not even a temptation. Like I have to take the extra 5 seconds to turn it on.
Yeah, I know.
My brain's like, what are you doing? Like you need to be done. You need to be done. So yeah, there's lots of different strategies that you can do. Another thing too, what was really interesting was that drive time to and from work really kind of changed my husband's perspective. I've been a stay-at-home mom for the past 7 years and then have started my business. So I've been working from home for a while.
Right.
But when we were talking about it, he had a hard time with that, not having that drive time to turn it off. And so for those that are listeners that are working at home now, allow yourself maybe 20 minutes even before you dive into home life or dive into work, to give yourself, I don't know, like listen to music or do what you would have done in the car, like like kind of like a neutral thing before you jump into it, just to give yourself, some energy.
Yeah. And don't listen to the news. Yeah.
Don't do that. I definitely don't recommend doing that.
I love the idea of the music because, you get those good songs, you're beating on the steering wheel, you're jamming in your car, people looking at you funny. Do that. And you can do it in your house. Nobody's looking at you unless you have to do it in the front window. But hey, it's up to you. Yeah, exactly. That's up to you. So great ideas, great reminders, because there is that time where you've got to take that few minutes. And I can imagine financially, you're always thinking, well, what about this? And there's another idea. And here's this. You got to shut it off. And, that can be hard for some people. Interesting concepts there. So what are some other things that you see, especially with the dynamic of the work environment now, and and the way people are always going. I mean, our society is inundated with ads and media and everything, bombarded constantly. What are some things to bring that focus so we can, you know, especially at the beginning of the new year, we want to start off strong. We want to start off right. What are some things they can help to wrangle that, if you will?
Mhm. So this is the hardest part. You have to be really honest with where you're spending your time. So what things are you putting into your mind? What things are you looking at? And a lot of times we can be like, oh, I'm only spending a little bit of time doing this or that. So it really takes being honest
Right.
about it, right? And so making sure that there's the same amount of positive things that are coming into you as there is negative, right? Same with the energy, same with the like actual concepts and information that you're taking in.
Right. Garbage in, garbage out. We want positive in,
Yeah,
positive out. Oh,
absolutely. Absolutely.
great. Because I mean, that's a big help. People need to understand that value, that, it's a shift in the economy. It may continue this way. It probably will. People want that. They want to be able to try to do that balance and so forth. The commutes we can do without, and we can connect all over the world through media like this. I mean, I've had the privilege to interview people in Australia and the Czech Republic, and all over the world, and we can do that because we don't have to get in a car, get on a plane through technology. But it also, like you said, on the opposite side, you got to learn to shut that off.
Yes.
And so that's so important for people. What are some other ways, as a reminder? I like to end that, if you will, on a positive type note. What are some other reminders that you want to give to encourage people?
Yes. A reminder to encourage people. Well, you are in control of your life. We kind of talked about this.
Yeah.
Like, we get to make the decisions. There's no one that is going to do your life for you. And so if there is a desire in your heart, right? Like a business you want to start or a strategy you want to try, do it, right? And this is coming from a perfectionist that's afraid of failure. So like, I get that it's hard, but like, try it, because that is where we get the energy and the excitement, and we build that confidence in ourselves every time we try something, and then we learn from it, then we get more confidence and more confidence. And that confidence really just helps us become more positive. And then our light shines, and other people can take that light too and share it with others.
And I appreciate that idea of the light, because I think that's so important in our world. We need to be that positive, shining light. God was that for us. We can continue that and carry that so other people can see a pathway for their footing. So great information for people, great information, for those that may be getting a little confused, that be crazy. But where can people find out more information about you and what you offer?
Yeah. So you can find me on Facebook, Tabatha Perry Life Coach, as well as on Instagram. And I actually have a podcast as well. It's called The Life Edit with Tabatha Perry. So I would love to talk with anyone that is interested in learning how to take all of the craziness and like bring it down and make it into like small little edits in their life. So that way that they can get that professional and personal life that they like thrive in. And so I would love to talk with anyone that's interested in that.
And we'll put those links on the show notes as well, so people have that, because I was reviewing your podcast and listening to that as well too. They're informative, right to the point. I like the way you do those, because it seems, like I said, you're sitting down with you and just having a casual conversation. So great job with those.
Thank you.
So check out Tabatha, check out what she offers. Tabatha, thank you so much for taking the time to be on the Encouragement Engineering podcast today. I really appreciate what you're offering, the light you're shining in our world. Keep up the great work. It's very encouraging, and thank you for sharing with us today.
Thank you, Bob. This has been awesome.
Great. Thank you. You have a great day.
Thanks.